What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another daily vlog. Now guys, we're outside of the shop right now because I wanted to show y'all some of this. It looks like fluffy clouds, but it is not. About 20 miles that way we had a tornado land, and about 5 miles that way there is baseball and golf ball size hail. So that's what's going down in my neck of the woods tonight. So we're gonna hop in the shop. We're gonna do a pretty simple video. I'm gonna do a sit-down discussion and talk about some stuff that's gonna be real helpful for y'all. So let's go ahead, let's hop into the shop. Let's talk about some stuff. All right, so we are not doing the Kydex sheath build video because those things take me a little while to make, and I don't wanna be out here just in case, you know, golf ball hail or baseball hail starts raining down, or we end up having a tornado drop down here. So we're gonna do a nice, simple, sweet, short video. And this was one that I've thought about doing for a while now. And what we're gonna be talking about is different types of steels that you might use to make a knife. Now, some of the stuff that I'm gonna talk about here are common steels that people make knives out of. And especially if you're a new novice knife maker, the types of steels that you look for when you're making a knife. Now, I do have a lot of people that ask me, you know, what type of steel should I start with? What types of steels should I be looking for at swap meets, or whenever I'm salvaging steel, or I'm trying to find things that I can just make work, you know, what a lot of knife makers call unknown steels. So they're going to be things like wrenches, they're going to be things like leaf springs, they're going to be things like railroad spikes, stuff like that, where you just have to assume the type of steel that it is and you just try and make a knife out of it. I'm going to try and clarify a few things for y'all, and hopefully this helps y'all out. Now, let's talk about a few things here. So we have knives like the one that I've been EDCing for a while now. Since I've made it, I've EDC'd this every single day. Absolutely love this knife. That's the one that we did out of 80 CRV2, and it has been working like a dream. So absolutely love this. But this is known steel, 80 CRV2. You can get it from actual knife supply places like Texas Knife Supply. That's where I got this from. So 80 CRV2, awesome steel. It heat treats pretty easy, just about like 1095. Or 1080 through 1095, but this is stuff that you know what it is. There's books and books and books on how to heat treat these. That's pretty simple. Now, then you've got, of course, your 1080s through 1095s. You got your O1 tool steels. You know, those are the ones if you want to order a nice steel to work with, do it. But if you're one of those guys that wants to try and learn how to forge, or you might not want to order some real knife making steel right off the bat and you want to try something else like a file knife. Cool things about file knives. For one, they are already heat treated. Now you do have to temper them, but they're already heat treated. So whenever you go to make this knife, you do not have to anneal it. If you don't want to, you could just anneal the tang, drill your holes through the tang and call it good. Or you could make something that's like a hidden tang with a file. It's pretty simple to do that. But these, you can cut them out and keep them cool the whole entire time, and then all you got to do is temper them, put your handle on it, and boom, you got a knife. You didn't have to have a forge for it. Now, when it comes to steels that you're going to have to actually forge, like a lot of people make knives out of wrench heads like this. Like that's a monkey wrench head. You know, I did a smaller version of one of those right here. This was a monkey wrench. This is a knife I made out of that right there. Just a little EDC knife that I use in the shop. So you got stuff like that. Now these require forges because you have to be able to forge this big old chunk of steel out into a knife. I will be forging this into a pretty big knife whenever I get down to that point. It won't have handle scales because the this right here is already so big that it is the size of a handle. So that's gonna be really cool. That's gonna be forged out. This is hardenable steel, and I'm gonna talk about a few different things now. For one, this is hardenable steel. This is nice and easy. It's really easy to heat treat, really easy to forge. But then we go into things like wrenches. So that right there was the body of a wrench. So this was the body of a monkey wrench right there that I forged into a knife. So that was forged to shape and then finished beveled. Now this one right here, I did a heat treat test on it. So I actually forged it out, took the tip of it and cut it off, heat treated it, put it in a vise and snapped it so that I could see the grain pattern, well not pattern, but see how fine the grain was and everything like that. And it looked beautiful, so I went ahead and made the knife. And this thing right here holds an edge like no other. This stuff is super hard. So we had that. Then we have ones like this. This was forged out of a wrench as well. This is still part of the head right here, where it would have came out right here, it came out right here to be able to wrench on something. But that one again, that one was forged to shape and then finished on the bevels. So this one doesn't have a handle on it just like the last one because it's not necessary. This already is a handle because it was a wrench. Same thing with this. Because it was a wrench, it already had a handle on it. So don't need to have wood on those particular things. But these right here, they were pretty simple to forge and work with. Now both of these were steel that I was able to heat treat, but I had to heat treat and quench them in water. They did not quench in oil. They were still soft. Did not pass a foul test, so I had to go ahead and quench them in water. And I'll tell you, sometimes you're gonna have to do that. There's gonna be steels, especially unknown steels, that are oil quenchable. Some of them are air hardened, so as soon as you pull it out of the forge, it starts hardening just by being in the air. Then you'll have steels that are water quenched, and these were those. So that's how I got them super hard. There's no fractures or cracks in it. Absolutely love these. But these are still, even though they're unknown steels, they are stuff that is pretty common sense whether it's hardenable or not. Now, we're gonna have two other steels. One is the one that everybody absolutely knows and loves. That is 5160. So leaf spring material. So these, you do have to forge them flat because they are curved. This one right here is gonna be the hunter knife that we're doing right here. If you can actually see that, I know that, there we go. So that hunter knife, that is gonna be forged out of this. So we are gonna be using that piece of steel right there, but 5160, super easy steel to work with. I will tell you, if you're gonna try and get this stuff, you need to know what vehicle it came off of so that you really know what type of spring steel it is, because not every leaf spring is made of 5160. Sometimes they're made of different steels that might not heat treat and harden the right way. But this stuff right here that I'm using, I already know that it's 5160 because I did my research. Just takes a little time in Google to Google the type of vehicle and then leaf spring steel material. It's really easy, just how you would ask the question, put it in Google that way. But this right here, of course, is what the chopper that I made was made out of. Love that. This has insane edge retention. So we're gonna be making the hunter knife out of the same steel as that right there. But this stuff, absolutely awesome. Like I said, it quenches very easily, just like 1095. Well, 1080 through 1095, you quench almost the same exact way. You can do thermal cycling if you want. I've seen people that don't do thermocycling that do a great job of heat treating and quenching these, and they hold an edge for a very long time. So there you go. Now, the last one that I'm going to talk about is actually one of the most common things that people make knives out of, because they look really cool and decorative. Whenever you do twists with them, they're really easy to work with. But that is the wonderful railroad spike. So, you want to make a knife out of a railroad spike because you saw it on forums or you saw it in pictures and you thought, man, the twists that they do on those, and when they forge them out, they're really sweet. They have this cool little pommel on the back end. That's going to make a sick knife. It'll make a sick looking knife. It'll make a knife that you can cut stuff with. But it's not a working knife because these are mild steel. Even the ones that say HC on the head, high carbon, they're still very low carbon. They're high carbon for railroad spikes, but they are not high carbon like a tool would be high carbon. So these right here are meant to bend and not break. The whole point behind them. They're not meant to snap, they're not meant to break, they're meant to just bend. Like I said, you could forge them into really pretty knives, but no matter how you try and heat treat this, it will not be a working blade. It will not be something that you can cut wood with and hold an edge. It will get dull super fast, but they do make pretty looking wall hangers and things like that. If you want to make one or you want to practice your forging abilities, which, I mean, so be it, do your thing. But just don't expect to have a good edge retention on a knife made out of one of these. I feel like there's a lot of guys out there that want to do these because they see other people do them. It's the same way with unknown steels that people will get. They'll find angle iron, they'll find all kinds of different steel all over the place, and they'll think, well, I'm just going to make a knife out of it. That's fine, but it's just a knife-shaped object. It's not an actual knife, you know. I've taken and done bevels on mild steel just to see how the bevel was going to react with different bevel jigs and things like that. But this, no matter how I heat treat this, it's not going to get hard. It's mild steel. So that's the same way with the railroad spike. If you're going to make a knife and it's going to be your first time to make a knife, if you want to just practice forging, by all means, you can find railroad spikes everywhere. Do your thing. But if I were you, I would try and track down some leaf spring material, because if you get one set of leaf springs, that's a ton of steel to be able to practice with. If you're going to try an unknown steel, leaf spring. If you also want to practice forging, these right here, the reason why I did these, I didn't take good working wrenches and forge them into knives just for the hell of it. These were wrenches that were broken and getting thrown away, and I decided to go ahead and make them into knives so that they had a new lease on life. Same thing with this right here. The body of this wrench was absolutely destroyed, but the head was left because it's hardenable steel, and the body was like a cast steel. But guys, if you're gonna try it, get yourself some leaf spring material. It forges real easily. It's hardenable. You heat quench it real well. If you're gonna do it, grab some of that stuff. I wouldn't say immediately go out and get some 80 CRV2 or something like that. I would say try some leaf spring material, make yourself a knife. Now, if you want to do it with the no forge way, get yourself some old Nicholson files and make yourself a file knife. But guys, I've had a lot of people ask me about steels and where I source them. A lot of these are swap meets, a lot of these are wrecking yards, a lot of them are places where people are just selling a bunch of tools because, you know, a parent passed away and these people work in an office building, will never use the tools, so they're just doing, you know, garage sales and things like that. And I go in there and I try and track those things down. Now, I will tell you, not every old school file that I find gets turned into a knife. a lot of these are good working files that have barely been used, and I will keep them and use them as files. I won't be making knives out of all of them. But guys, hopefully this video kind of helps y'all see what steels to think about whenever you're going to get into knife making, and gives y'all a little bit of an idea. And I'll tell you, forging, you don't need forging hammers. You can get, you know, 2-pound sledgehammers, 4-pound sledgehammers, all that from Harbor Freight. Get yourself a Harbor Freight anvil and make a forge like my little ammo can forge, or the forge that I have out there, for pretty cheap. You know, you could do all of that stuff for less than $200. So guys, but if you're going to get into forging, you know, practice on some of this steel that's readily available. You can get leaf spring material from junkyards all day. So guys, again, hopefully this video helps y'all out and gives y'all something to think about whenever it's time to actually, you know, make your first knife. Get y'all put up here. There we are. Oh, you're a little crooked. There we go. So hopefully, like I said, this helps y'all decide what you're going to make your first knife out of. And this is stuff that I've thought through and practiced with. So when it comes to forging, I did a lot of practice on leaf spring material, a lot of practice on wrenches, a lot of practice on unconventional steels so I could just try it out. I will tell you, pay attention to some of the labels on the, if you're going to go with wrenches, pay attention to them, because some of them will say, you know, chromium, vanadium, or CV, CRV, you know, a few different things like that. And some of those heat treat differently than 1080, 1095. I will also tell you, be careful, pay attention to the coatings on some of these things, because some of them are coated with toxic materials that whenever you get them hot and they turn into fumes, they could really harm you. So pay attention to some of those things. Make sure you Google the names of tools before you start forging them to make sure what the material is. Guys, that's the end of this one. If y'all would, give this video a thumbs up, share this video or a video I've done in the past that might be your favorite. And if you haven't yet, bottom corner, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you get notified for tomorrow's video, which, weather permitting, is going to be making a sheath for the file knife. Guys, thank y'all for coming by. Thank y'all for spending your time with me. Y'all have an amazing day. I'll see y'all tomorrow.